a little birdie told me that you were scared to make a bow. And you are like, oh, how do I do this? I'm here to help you. And by the way, I'm Kali with Kali's.com, and I teach all things floral design, and holiday decorating is the go time. And I want you to learn how to use wired ribbon and make beautiful bows. If anything, just for your gifts that you're giving this year or your tree, you can really be, ribbon can be a real game changer. And I think you'll be shocked if you just play with it a little. It's not that difficult to use. So this ribbon right here is from Kali's.com. It's wired along the edge. So when you hear somebody say wired ribbon, what they're talking about is the edge is wired. Why do I need wired ribbon, Kali? I see lots of pretty non-wired ribbon, because wired ribbon sticks up and it pokes out. And I'm always cramming down my design school students' throat in the sweetest way as I possibly can. I'm cramming down that we want wired ribbon because it gives us depth and dimension on our bows. And it gives you those bows you dream of as a kid on your gifts, like the holiday ribbon candy. Okay, this is why that candy was created, because it looks like beautiful ribbons and bows, and that's why we want wired ribbon. It always comes back to some sweet treat in our brain, right? This is it. Wired ribbon is the key, okay? So once I have a nice wire ribbon, this is 2.5 inches wide, and that's kind of a width that's going to show up good on your tree. You can go bigger to 4 inches. If you have a smaller tree, you might want to go more narrow to 1.5. Those are the common widths of ribbon. So in case it was confusing, that's what we're talking about with widths of ribbon. So the first thing you want to do before you start this bow is you're going to need a pair of scissors, you're going to need a roll of wired ribbon, and then I'm going to use some 18 gauge wire. If I'm making these bows for my tree, I just need them to be on a wire where I can pack them up and take them off for the next year. Okay, so here's my tail. You want the tails long enough so they can kind of show, and you can curl them and let them come down the tree. So if you could go for about 30 inches on a tail, then you're good. You're going to have a lot of length to let that kind of curl out and come out the tree. So I'm going to grab it right there. Now the rest of the roll, you're just going to let it fall on the floor because it's too complicated to try to keep it up. We're going to make this by hand today, so you don't need any special devices, just easy by your hand. So once you do that, you're going to twist right here and hold that twist. The reason we're twisting is because you can see the back of the ribbon is not as pretty as the front. So we want to make sure we twist. Now to measure your loop size, just take your fingers. We call this hang 10. We use hang 10 a lot in design school. The reason we do that is because it's simple measurement. It's built into your body and helps you have consistent sizing. So just take and hang 10. I know I need to come down just a little bit. It's a little bit too fat. And generally on my hands, this is 6 to 7 inches, okay? So on yours, it might vary, but it gives you a guide to go by. So I'm back at the front now, so I'm gonna just gather that just slightly, and then I'm gonna twist, okay? So I can come around and make my next loop. And this one will come around the back, and we're going to do the same thing with the hang 10. Okay, hang 10, measure it, hang 10. So my bow is looking really pretty so far, and she has 2 loops. And both her tails face forward, and she's very pretty. This is fine. This is fine. You do not have to make it more extravagant than this. This is beautiful. But, of course, we're going to go a little further. Twist again, okay? Twist again, make your next loop. Just keep rolling out your ribbon, just pull it up. And I'm going to make this the same size as the last one. Just gather it in the middle, and then we're going to twist again. Okay, and then I'm going to loop it back around. And I'm just making sure that my loops are about that hang 10 size. So we're pretty consistent. That's a little too big. I'm going to downsize it just a little bit. There you go. So just make sure, once you make a loop, you can just kind of measure it off the other loop. Spread them out, and look how you have now here another bow that's super cute. And I have 2 loops on either side. Look, you did it. You did it that easy already. Okay, and we're going to take it just one more step. We're going to add our third and final loop, and this one we want to be a couple inches shorter than our last one. So easy. We're going to come in and make it a little bit shorter right here. And you can look at it. You can see, okay, that'll balance out pretty. Oh, I want it a little longer. You can pull it a little longer, okay? Don't panic. You got all this in one hand, but you got it. Twist, and here comes my last loop right here, popping in, okay? And I want to make sure that these are kind of consistent on either side. I can, once I get it tightened, I can pull it a little bit back and forth. Generally, I'm going to teach to use cable ties in the middle, and if you do that, it's hard to pull the length longer, but I think we're good here. and I'm happy. I've got 3 loops on each side, and I've got a really cute bow coming together. Now what I want you to do is take that wire and come right through the center, which I'm going to do right here. And I'm going to pull that center as tight as I can and twist it. You want to rotate that to the back though. I've got it in the front. Pull it to the back. So this is the back of your bow. Now before I go any further, let's cut these tails to match. Now what's really kind of pretty on a tree is if you have a short and a long one, because the long one trails out the tree and the short one just follows it behind. So how about we go with that idea and we cut this one just a little bit shorter. So it'll be shorter. So the whole tail game should be a long and a short. So you have 2 different length tails coming out that tree. Now right here in the center, my last step I'm going to do is really fluff this up. And I'm fluffing it up facing me so I can see it for a second. And then I'm going to move it towards you. And look, how stinking cute is this bow? It's super simple. It has a total of 3 loops on either side. We got a great candy stripe. And once I add that in my tree, I want to show you how cute it would look. This is just a piece of white pine, but I want to show you how cute is that when we add it into our tree. And there's our long tail going down and our short tail going on top. And how simple. So that's a really easy hand bow you can make. All of a sudden these bows can go all over your home. So head over to Calise.com, look at our ribbon, pick out 2 or 3 ribbons. Once you pick out one, get 2 others that go with it. And all of a sudden you can mix and match these in your home decor, add them to your tree, and have so much fun with just a simple, this is a 6-loop bow. And in design school, we call it a 2-1 recipe. And we did it by hand this week, but so easy. I know you can do it. Hey, and if you're not already following us and liking and subscribing, please do that, because there's a lot more where this came from. And this is such a simple technique that is a winner. This bow can go on almost anything. So come on in, I'm gonna show you how. So I've got 2 ribbons and they're both here in this natural kind of burlap tan color, which just kind of coordinates with everything. Anytime you want that natural vibe, this is some of my go-to ribbons. So I'm gonna start off here with my 2.5-inch ribbon. In our design, we wanna have a long tail on it. So I'm gonna go all the way out to 20 inches. And then this is going to go right to the center of my bow maker. And I'm going to give that a twist. And the neat thing is I'm going to cut this at an angle just to kind of come in from the right. That way that this is going that way and pointing down. And then I'm going to come back in and make my loop. So I made my first tail on this side. I twisted it and now I'm making my loop. And I want this one to be about 6 inches. And I'm going to twist again. One more at 6. And then I'm going to scrunch it down. Now I want to make sure those are nice and loopy. It's really important for the look that I want when we're all finished, that it stays all that motion in the loop. And I'm going to cut this one at the opposite angle. Now I'm going to come in now with a couple of loops of my open weave. So it's just really easy to mix these together. And we'll start and cut this side at an angle too, or you can leave it straight either way. This one cuts where it's going to have a little bit of openness, but that's no big deal. It's really kind of pretty. So I'm going to take it, have that one be just as long as that last one, 20 inches, and then I'm going to twist. And now we're going to go a little bit shorter at 5 inches on either side. And we're going to do 2 on either side. And you'll notice I'm going to keep that nice and loose, nice and loose. Good strong twist, but nice and loose here on the actual loops. Oh, isn't that beautiful? So this is a very, very simple bow, great for beginners. Really easy to use the bow maker here too, to hold it. You can make this all in your hands also, but when you have the bow maker, it just holds everything for you, makes it that much easier. And I'm going to cut this one at the opposite angle, kind of coming in. Now, let's get in there and let's take this off our bow maker. Like I said, it's a simple bow and you can do it. Now you could mix any colors you wanted to build this up, but you can see it's the same palette. The same color on the back as the front, and it gives it all that cute depth. So I'm going to get that somewhat tight, not all the way tight. And then now we're going to start fluffing this dude up. And that means we're going to go ahead and make sure everybody is sitting upward, okay? And then I'm going to take and make sure my tails are coming down too, because that's important for this bow. And I want you to add a cable tie to the back. And that one will be where we're going to attach it. You can put a wire back there too. I just use cable ties that can get really tight. So I find that very beneficial when you're creating bows or doing some floral designing. I'm going to trim that off. And the next thing is I like to finish out the center. And on this one, I'm going to use the solid ribbon in the center. So I'll pull that off to the side here. And we'll just get a little strip of it. Aim for about 10 inches to 12 inches. It just makes it so much easier. And I'll just take this strip off and I'll leave that other strip on my roll. So my next bow, if I need a strip, I've got it ready to rock and roll. Now to finish my center, I don't want those rough edges. So I'm going to take and just fold those to the middle. Get a nice little finished piece like this. And then I'm going to run that down the center. And it keeps that really nice and neat looking in the middle. You see how pretty? It's so polished and finished. You're gonna love that. All right, Blue Merinos, if you wanna make bows just like this, you've gotta come join us. We teach this and higher level bows, multiple layers, multiple ways to learn dimension. Every week in design school, whenever we have a new bow on a project, I teach you step by step how to make it. Are you ready to play with these cute fall ribbons? We're gonna make the perfect bow. So I wanna show you how to do it. And today we're going to do it by hand. So we're gonna make a bow by hand, just for those of you who do not have a bow maker. And I'm gonna show you how easy it is. It just requires you to hold on to that center, and it's a little more difficult, but you can do it, okay? I promise. So the first thing you want to do is decide which ribbon's gonna go in the back. And for us in this pattern, I'm going to put the wider ribbon in the back, kind of to create a nice strong base to hold up the more narrow ribbon. Plus with our color palette here, we want to pull out all those natural gorgeous colors we're using in our swag. We've got this gorgeous pampas grass that is got a beautiful kind of taupe color like we have back in the background here. And then we have the gorgeous yellows and oranges that are in the pumpkins and the flowers that are on the swag. So we've got both those color palettes here that we're going to pull out, plus the green, which I love that in there. So once you decide what type of bow you want, for us we're going to do what we call a funky bow, and that just means tails go up and tails go down, and they kind of make a whimsical look. So we just need about 8 inches of tail on that. And we're not going to dovetail or anything else yet. We're just going to go ahead and start by establishing that's our first tail. And once I do that, I just kind of scrunch this in my hands right here, and I'm going to start with it in my right hand. And then I twist, okay? And we're going to start our first loop. Loops are good at about 8 inches or 7 to 8, and smaller if you want to go a little bit smaller. This is kind of a nice good size swag, so I think 7 will do us. I'm going to go a little bit shorter. So about a 7-inch loop here, and you pleat it and then you twist it again, okay? And so I twist when I want to come around and make another loop. Now this time I'm just doing one on each side. We're going to kind of eyeball it and make them similar. And then one tail will go up and one will go down. This will be the first part of our bow, okay? Just like that, you've started. And this is a cute bow for something simple. You don't always have to make so many loops. You could start with something simple like this. I'm gonna grab, I've got to switch back to my left hand because I've got to be able to cut this with my right, my loop on my bow, okay? So that part's done. Now I'm gonna come in with the next layer. So pull some more ribbon out. And this time I want to lay the tail on the other side. So about the same size, pleat it up. We're going to lay it right on top. Okay, for me it's easier to hold with my right hand while I'm building and switch when I need to cut. All right, so I'm going to twist it, and then I'm going to make the loop the same size that we just had. So you can kind of comparison it to the one you have there. See, they're about similar on this side. And then I twist again, and we're going to make a loop on this side. about the same. So look at the loop on this side to help you see. Okay, about the same, we're good. Let's just lay it on top. Beautiful, beautiful. I like to build my bows from back to front. And then I'm gonna come in and make my last tail so I don't have to twist this time. So here we are. I've got a nice tight center. I'm holding it all in my right hand right now. And I want you to identify here, we've got 2 tails on this side, okay, and 2 on that side. So switch hands to make your cut. I'm gonna do that right now. And these aren't identical cuts. We'll make them all pretty and match when we get to the end. Okay, right now I'm just trying to hold my center and keep everybody fluffed out nicely. Okay, now let's lay our next layer up. Now we're gonna put the cute little check on top. And I want this to run just kind of right on top of where we had our other tail before. So we'll just lay it right on there. It can be a little bit shorter. And this time we're just gonna have 1 tail of the check. And we're gonna twist at the center because I'm ready to make my loops. So let that ribbon roll out. And now I'm gonna make this loop just a little short, about 1 inch shorter than the others. So these are on this side, I can kind of eyeball it and say, okay, yeah, that's about 1 inch shorter. I'm gonna twist and start my next loop here on the other side. And now I can just scrunch it up and bring it down. So I want those tails to work opposite and my loops to be opposite, going through the other 2 loops. Okay, we did it. This is a 2-1 recipe, really easy to make. And then I'm gonna trim this tail a little bit shorter like we talked about. And I'm gonna come back to my right hand. All right, good to go. My bow is ready to be tied in the center. You can use wire or pipe cleaner. I adjusted and switched to cable ties probably about 15 years ago now. It's been a long time, and I love them because they get tighter than you can get different things. They do take a little bit of time to adjust to if you're used to wire, because they take a little more time to put them through the middle, but they work great to hold super tight. But if you wanted a strong wire to go in the middle, I like 18 gauge wire for most things like that. Okay, our bow is ready. The cable tie is somewhat tight, not all the way tight. So we come behind now and we slip under there our other cable tie. This is how we'll be attaching it to our swag when we're ready to put it on our project, okay? So I just run that underneath and you just get it even more tight, and she's ready. She's ready for us to do the finishing details. So cut off that part that was sticking up. We won't need that. She's looking good, and what I like to do is do a finishing detail in the middle, and then we will work on all of her tails. So for me, I'm gonna take a little piece of this orange and green plaid, and we're gonna run it down the middle to make a nice finished look. So all I'm doing is folding this on itself, or you could split it in half. Now, it's kind of cute if you want to run that seam down the middle. I think that's super cute. It adds a little detail to the center of your bow. You see there? Really cute. I'm going to put that in. I tie a couple of knots in the back. 1 and 2, and that finishes out the center of my bow. Trim those pieces off, and then she's ready to rock and roll. My last couple of steps is I will take and dovetail the tails, and we'll kind of match them up. So you can see this one's a little longer than this one, and we want to try to get them pretty similar. So I just cut it about the same, and then you fold it, and you cut up from the fold to the open corner, and you get what we call a dovetail. So we just rock and roll that, and rock and roll and cut those down, just like that. Super duper cute. Now with the one that's a little more narrow, I want it to lay on top of that other one just a little shorter. So I'm going to take a little bit more off, same thing, but you can see how cute that is laying on top. A lot of what I teach in design school and floral design is all about lines and layering, and how important all that is in the process when we're designing these bows and these arrangements. Like, all these little details add up, and even though they can kind of feel overwhelming, the process when you first start, later you'll appreciate each detail you put into your project. Because when I'm teaching sellers in design school, I'm teaching them how to, work their way up to create an audience and a clientele who's paying for all those little details, and they appreciate and they start to expect it, and so you're able to command a higher dollar for your pieces. I'm going to take my 2.5 black and yellow check, and we're going to have that on the back. So I love how ribbon like this is bordered really pretty. It just kind of really pops the black and white. And you'll see when you put this type of bow in a wreath, it really makes the florals pop out more. So I'm going to go with a 20-inch tail. So that is the whole length of the bow maker. And let's dovetail that. So I'm just going to fold it and we'll cut down towards the edge. So those nice big bold tails in the back will be strong and stable. So I'm going to bring that to the center. And then what's going to happen is one hand's going to go forward, the other's going to come back, and I'm going to start my first twist. Now I want to make this one nice and bold, so let's go out at 6 inches. It's not too huge, and I'm going to twist, keeping that nice and loopy. 6 inches on the other side, and we're going to put 2 on each side of the bow. Okay, one on the left and one on the right, and we'll do that twice. And I'm not stopping to cut. Each one gets a nice solid twist when you get to the center. Okay, and then scrunch that down. Now if you want to do this in your hands, you can. You don't have to have a bow maker. So the way that would work is I'm going to hold it in the center with one hand as I'm twisting with the other. So it just helps to have a bow maker to hold it for you. So this tail will also be 20 inches. And we'll dovetail it as well. You just want a nice strong pair of scissors because we are using wired ribbon, of course, from Khalees.com. And later you'll be able to see this entire project put together. So if you're interested in catching that video, let us know in the comments. Say, I would love to see you. Just say, hey, I need the wreath video. I need the wreath video, Clay. Let me know in the comments and we'll get back to you and pop that in, of course. You can also be on our text list, guys. That gives you all the info about everything we've got going on. So when you see a new video like this come out, you won't miss it. So that's 832-734-5201. We'll put it on the screen here for you. Just text us VIP if you're not on the list yet. Just jump on there and you won't miss anything new. And we love to provide direct links to help you get to what you need to get to. Now you'll notice my next ribbon I'm bringing in is a stripe. And this one I'm also going to dovetail. And I like to just kind of throw it off and not be too matchy-matchy. My design school students would say, Clee, matchy-matchy, there she goes again. I like for things to kind of match, but not. You know, like you do when you're designing for your home. You want them to match, but be similar, kind of. Not exactly matching. So now I'm going to come in, we're just going to come in with one beautiful loop here. You want it to be a little smaller, so that'll bring the eye into the center of the bow. So 5.5. We'll bring that right to the middle. Keep that super simple. And now since I'm not going to do another loop, I just scrunch that down. Once again, keep those loopy. If you see people teaching you to make these flat, they're doing you a disservice because you want to keep that beautiful loop there so you don't crease the wire or the ribbon over time, and it's going to hold up better. And if you end up making bows and wreaths to sell, that's what you want. You want your customers to have a great product in the end so they keep coming back to you and they're willing to pay you for better quality. All right, so this recipe we call a 2-1. We call a recipe of a bow from one side of the bow, and we're ready to take it off the bow maker. So grab a cable tie. I've got some green ones because I like the green coloration to hide it in my design. So I'm just going to run that right beside the dowels, put a finger on top, and just slowly bring it up, okay? Woo! It sprung away from me. Now get some pressure on it. Boom! Just like that. And so it's somewhat tight before I even pull it off. Now I've got it off the bow maker and I'm ready to fluff it up. And this we're going to go slow and steady. Rotate that between your fingers and just slowly puff each section. And you can see like I helped out my twist a little there. And I'm going to just fluff and space at the same time. So the look I'm going for is very dimensional, almost like a beautiful butterfly. Can you see the wings out here? And this is another set of wings in the middle. It's just really pretty. That's what we want. When we're done with that part and we're happy with the fluffing, we're going to rotate that behind and grab another cable tie. The other cable tie is how you're going to put it into your wreath. You can use a pipe cleaner or a wire. I'm a big cable tie girl, so that's what I like to use. Now I'm going to cut that off after I've got it really tight. Just snip that part off. Cowabunga! Off there, dude. Now, flip it around. And this is the fun part. We get to basically accessorize the center of the bow. And that's fun. You can always use, of course, the ribbons we have in this collection. Or we can come in with something totally different. So if you were introducing like a different color and some florals, like a little, maybe a little red or something, you could put that right in the center of the bow. We're going to go with, I'm going to use a little bit of this stripe on the side of the yellow. So let me show you how to do that. So basically we're going to take about an 8 or 10 inch section. Don't make it too little. And we're going to cut off where I can get enough to fold it and get a little stripe on the side. So I just cut a little strip and save this because you could do it on another bow. And I'm going to rotate this around, and I've just folded it on itself so I can get just a little touch of yellow and a little touch of black running down the center. And you can see you can rotate it and manipulate it a little bit to get a little more yellow. There we go. See, I got a little bit of both. You could also cut it a lot wider and make it chunkier if you wanted. But I like that little touch in the center. I think it looks super, super cute. 3-loop bow that we are going to use on a very neutral berry design. I want you to dovetail your first tail as it comes down. I like to let the tails be super loopy and long and flowing. You can just kind of hold it up to your piece and decide how long you want that to be. And we're going to let it be very long. And then I just kind of do a little gather and a twist. And we're going to make our first loop. And that loop is going to be, I would say, 6 to 7 inches, and then you're going to gather it again, okay? Just do a little gather and a twist. It makes it super easy. Then one more, and you want those to be about the same, and I'm still gathering it in the middle. And I'm going to do my third and final loop and just get a little bit more ribbon. You're aiming for about 6 inches, and I like to just kind of put that one kind of up to the top, off to the side a little. So what you have to do is you have to get a consistent place where you can tie it off in the middle. So we'll do something like that. Make sure it's not too much longer. Just back it up a little bit. Kind of compare. I like these to be pretty equal. So you know you can grab all of this with a cable tie right here. You can also use a wire. That's fine also, but I like to use the cable ties because they can get super tight in the center. They're a little bit hard to do when with one hand, but you can get it. Get some pressure, not all the way yet. And then I want you just to kind of fluff it out slightly. Make sure your twists are good. Let's decide on this length of the other tail. I want it to be a little shorter, so I'm going to come in here and we'll dovetail it also. And you just cut that to make that little chevron V cut. Now we've got our 3 loops rocking. What you need to do is come in the back and go ahead and grab underneath that cable tie, and this is how you're going to attach it to your wreath in this case. So you have that in as your securing factor. Now rotate this around to the back and go ahead and get that puppy tight. And you'll notice when you get it tight, they'll all pop up real pretty for you. And both your tails are going to be kind of flowing down really lovely like that. Okay? Now because you use a cable tie, it's a little bit bigger than a wire, so it kind of shows in the middle. So I like to kind of mask that, and sometimes you could do it with like a leaf in the ivy when you're putting it in your project, but you can also just come in and slice a little piece off of the ribbon, and I usually just leave that on the roll so you'll have an extra for your next bow. Just fold this over so you got nice edges that aren't rough, and just run that right down the middle, and see how that stripe's going to run down the middle and be really pretty. And that'll finish off that little detail like that. So just put a couple of knots. One will probably do you on this easy bow like this. Trim that tail off. You can also leave these long in the back if you want them to be some type of accent. You could leave that longer and let them shoot off. But there you are. There's your 3-loop bow. It's ready to attach. If you stick with the classics here, this will work great for you or your customers to hang in their home, on their porch or their front door in any season, in between the seasons. And this is just a simple, fun bow. We're working with 4-inch ribbon. You don't need any special equipment except for a beautiful 4-inch ribbon, some scissors that are pretty good because they got to be able to cut the wire in the ribbon, and we're going to use some cable ties. And I'm just using 8-inch cable ties. I use those instead of wire. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by doing our tails. I know our tails, I want them pretty long for this. I want this to be a big, beautiful bow. So I'm going to make them first this time. So I'm going to take one tail here, and we're going to trim that. We're going to keep these completely separate. So I'm going to trim this off, and we're going to make them first. This is about 32 inches. And then I'm going to do, instead of a dovetail cut, we're going to do a reverse curl. So I'm going to just trim these little wires off first to get them out of there, and make sure you get those little guys in the garbage. Be really careful because we don't want those to hurt anybody. And I'm going to do a reverse curl. So I'm going to, because this is a reversible ribbon, so it's so cute to curl up the end of that tail and just curl it up. And now you see how pretty that is when you see the tip of the ribbon. It's really cute. And you can even make that wider, whatever you want. So a reverse curl. We're going to do 2 sections like that. So let me cut another tail, because I want this bow to have this gorgeous, really full tail. All right, I need a little extra for my curl. So I'll cut it a little bit longer. And we're going to make the tails first. So they're going in the back of our bow, and I'm just going to curl this around. Now, depending on the ribbon you're using, if you don't have like really good quality ribbon like the one I'm using, where the wire can hold it, you might need to tack a little glue on there to hold it in place. And I'm going to try to curl these up to where they both have that green part right there. Let me see if I can get the green. Oh yeah, that's what I want right there. So they're kind of matchy-matchy on the curls. Now what I want you to do up here at the top is take and just gather them together. So I'm going to get a good gather on this one, okay, and a good gather up on this one. It's a little bit stiff because this is a iced ribbon. And look at there, we've got our tails started. I've got the right one, the left one looking good, and I've got the top part gathered. Just take a cable tie, slip it under, and this is going to be our tail section of this bow. All right, so I'm just going to slide it under and get that nice and tight. And that's why I like cable ties, so they can hold so much tighter than wire. All right, you can trim off the pokey part, and we're going to get ready to do the bow part. So what I want to do is just come from either side and come into the middle, depending how long I want that to be. This is about 7 inches, this is about 8, and I think I'm going to go with about 7. So we want these to overlap in the middle. So before I trim it, I'm going to just kind of come back over here, work it backward, okay? And I want to I need a little overlap. Now there is a connection point in this ribbon, and you might find that sometimes on a roll. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this part of the ribbon out, and we'll let that stay there and be in the back, okay? So I'm going to bring this one over about 7 inches here, and I'll keep this little piece here for centers, because we'll need it for centers. So I'm going to cut that there. I need to have enough room to overlap. So we'll pull that out, because that was a little piece right where the ribbon had a connection, which is no big deal. You're going to run into those on ribbon. Don't freak out about that, guys. That's how ribbon's manufactured. Sometimes you're going to get that part of the roll. Don't lose it. So they're overlapping a little in the middle. Okay, just a little bit now. I'm going to put this off to the side. We're making our first loop to this bow. I like it. And once I'm happy with how that is, I want a little overlap. That's going to go right in the center. And this will be the back part of my bow, okay? Not going to do anything yet. We're just laying it out. Don't crease it. Just keep it nice and flat. Now my next layer of this bow is going to be shorter. So if that one was about 8 inches on either side, so it's about 16 inches total, this one I want to be a couple inches shorter. So this one would be 6 on each side. So I'm looking at about 12 inches on either side. So I'm going to cut that. And then we're going to find the middle here again. I don't want a whole lot of overlap. Just enough, just about 1 inch overlap on either side. Let's see how that would work. So just lay it right in front. Okay, so that ended up not being quite as small as I wanted it to be. Let me go a little bit smaller. Just gonna take a little off. The reason you can't have a whole bunch of overlap in the middle is you'll end up trying to hide it all in the bow when you get to getting ready to cinch it up. Okay, so you see this one's a little longer, this one's a little shorter. And 2 or 1 inch difference, it's up to you, whatever you want it to be. We need one loop like that and one like this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to gather it up right here, and we're going to get it really pretty, and we're going to put that seam to the back. Okay, so there's our first loop of the bow. Okay, pretty easy, you got it. All right, hold that down there. Now I'm gonna gather up my second, just start working with it. I'm gonna do that right on top of the other. Hold it in place, or put something heavy on that middle one. Okay, and I'm gonna lay this one right on top. So my first layer lays right on top of my top layer. And I gotta make sure I'm in the middle, or it's gonna set it all. Oh my gosh, that's so thick and cute. Look how pretty that's gonna be when we loop it up. Okay, we got a good start. We've got a shorter on top of the longer. Now what I want you to do is go ahead and cable tie that in the middle. I'm just gonna run that underneath. And we gotta get some pressure on this. This is some really pretty ribbon, and you know, you could use this as the start of a tree topper too. You could just build this out. Now don't get that too tight yet, because we want to work on this center. Now you got to be careful yanking on it, because you've got pieces that are pieced in the back there, remember? Okay, look how pretty. Look at all the depth. Oh my gosh, so pretty. Gorgeous. Now we're going to go ahead and put a cable tie behind it. And that's how we're going to attach those tails in a little bit. And pull that really tight. Okay, and then we're going to cut that off. Now bring our long tails back, and we're ready to put this puppy together. Look at here, look at here. Oh my gosh, you see her coming together? Look how pretty she is. So that's why I said this could even go at the top of a tree. You could make one for one side of the tree and one for the other. Now I want you to trim off this section of the fat part of the tail. We don't need that. And we're going to go on with that cable tie right behind it right here and put that into place. I hope this is helping you kind of see it doesn't have to be really complicated to make a bow with a 4-inch ribbon that's really elaborate like this and iced and really pretty. We're going to be using this to make a swag, so if you need the link to that video, let us know. I'm going to put that right on those tails. Don't let it pop off. I'm going to get it real tight. Don't let it slide off. Yes. Trim that off. So the tails are on, the bow is on. Looka. Oh, it's so cute. So you can see how good this is going to work for my swag. Now we're not quite finished. It's time to do that, what I call in design school, the detail, the embellishment that takes it to the next level. And whenever we're doing that, that's going to allow us to be able to get a higher value for the things we are selling. So because this ribbon is reversible, I love for you to come back with the reverse side right up the middle of that bow and through the tail. Okay, this is a little thick like this, so I'm going to cut it shorter. Not really shorter, but less width. I'm going to take it down in width. And I want you to take and just fold this over really simply. Fold it over a little so we get a nice finished piece. Now, it's up to you. You can run the seam down the middle like that of the bow, or you can flip it over and have it neat and clean. It's totally up to you. I'm going to go on the back side this time and let that pretty plaid show. Y'all know I'm mad for plaid at all times. Run that right through the tails, which gives you some nice separation on these tails. Look how pretty that looks in the middle. Can you tell? It's green, but it's so pretty. And if you wanted to use a section of the ribbon that was more red, you could slide it up and down, whatever you want. Don't get that tight. I'm gonna pull it tight. This is some really nice ribbon. You don't need a lot of it to make these really gorgeous bows when you do it this way. But let me show you how pretty this turned out. Okay, let me layer out. So you guys can do this too. We didn't need any special equipment. All we needed was our 4-inch ribbon and then some scissors to cut it. And we did use a little bit more cable ties than we would on a normal bow because we were attaching these tails, but I can't wait to show you this type of bow on a Christmas swag. This ribbon is gorgeous, and how pretty is that going to reflect all the lights on the tree. All right, so don't be afraid of 4-inch ribbon. It can be your friend, and you can make some beautiful pieces and make a really simple hand bow that I know you can do. It doesn't take any special equipment, just ribbon, a way to tie off the ribbon like a wire or a cable tie, and then you're gonna need some scissors, and I'm gonna show you how. So the first thing you're gonna do is you need to think about how long you want your tails to be on our bow. And I want mine to be, roughly 12 to 16 inches. You pick what you want, and I'm gonna dovetail this just by cutting it and making that little V shaping in the end. And then our next step is, once you know how long you want it to be, we're gonna just kind of lay that out on the the table and kind of decide that's our length for our first tail, okay? And things don't have to be identical. When I come to the center, I twist it, all right? And when you're rolling your ribbon, sometimes you might just let it fall off the table and hit the floor, and it might be easier. The twist brings the back of the ribbon, the pretty side backward, so you flip it over so you're ready to make your next twist. And so that's what we're doing right there. And I'm gonna start to stack up these twists, okay? The hard part of this is just holding it all in your hand. So I've got my first twist done. I'm gonna bring it around. And you can see, okay, oh, it's starting to kind of shape a bow. I see one loop on each side, okay? And if I pleat that right there in the center, and I wanted to finish off, this would be a nice little simple, just 2-loop bow, one on either side. Of course, we're gonna build up and we're gonna make it even prettier there. So I'm gonna twist, and we're gonna add some more on this side, okay? So over here on the left, I'm gonna put another loop in. I kind of gather it, and then I twist it. You can see I kind of switch hands there just to make it a little easier holding it. And now I've got 2 loops on each side, okay? And I could have the fun ribbon just kind of coming off, and that's a really pretty bow also. We're gonna go 3 on each side, okay? And then this time when you bring that third one, and I'm gonna go ahead and let this hit the floor because that's a little bit easier to maintain it. I'm gonna break this one a little shorter. So that way, you see how it goes between those two and it's a little shorter? Yeah, simple. Okay, pleat it, twist it, okay? So I can build up these layers slowly and steady. And look how cute. So I've got a kind of a tail coming off the back and a tail coming off the front. I've got a beautiful bow. Now here's where you want to grab your cable tie or wire. I use cable ties because they let it get really, really taut in the middle. And that kind of helps you hold this so pretty. So let's just take and gather that up and start to manipulate all of this and just flip it around. Look how pretty. Isn't that pretty? Oh my gosh, you guys. You did that all by yourselves. Now let me take this one. We'll cut it. And we're going to dovetail that too. Now, this back tail is kind of twisting on me, so I want to watch it. Get everything really nicely positioned. There we go. And now, go ahead and pull that tight. But you need a way to attach it to whatever you're putting it on first, okay? Instead of coming back and trying to put that in now. Alrighty, look at there. Simple bow. And from here you can build up and you can layer different layers of ribbon. But for our project today, we're keeping it pretty simple. Now, the little detail I like to add to the middle is I like to come into the middle and cover that with just a little piece of our ribbon. I'm going to grab our same ribbon, just cut a little piece, and I'm going to fold it on itself here. So you take and just fold it and go right down the center. And now look at that clean, finished, pretty bow. Isn't that beautiful? Just a knot back here to hold that in place. And you can take these, if you want these tails to show, just make sure you're showing the pretty part to the front. Like if you wanted these little pieces to come up, you could and trim them. I'm not going to use them, so I'm going to trim them off. But if you want to leave that piece long, you can have some more tails kind of coming up right from the center. I trimmed that off. And we did it, and you made this beautiful bow. Hey, Bloomerinos, we're getting ready to work with these 2 ribbons. We're gonna make a beautiful, natural looking bow that we're gonna use on a particular project, but the good news is this bow can go on almost anything. So come on in, I'm gonna show you how. So I've got 2 ribbons, and they're both here in this natural kind of burlap tan color, which just kind of coordinates with everything. Anytime you want that natural vibe, this is some of my go-to ribbons. So I'm going to start off here with my 2.5-inch ribbon. In our design, we want to have a long tail on it. So I'm going to go all the way out to 20 inches. And then this is going to go right to the center of my bow maker. And I'm going to give that a twist. And the neat thing is I'm going to cut this at an angle just to kind of come in from the right. That way that this is going that way and pointing down. And then I'm going to come back in and make my loop. So I made my first tail on this side, I twisted it, and now I'm making my loop. And I want this one to be about 6 inches, and I'm gonna twist again. One more at 6, and then I'm gonna scrunch it down. Now I want to make sure those are nice and loopy. It's really important for the look that I want when we're all finished, that it stays all that motion in the loop. And I'm going to cut this one at the opposite angle. Now I'm going to come in now with a couple of loops of my open weave. So it's just really easy to mix these together. And we'll start and cut this side at an angle too, or you can leave it straight either way. This one cuts where it's going to have a little bit of openness, but that's no big deal. It's really kind of pretty. So I'm going to take it, have that one be just as long as that last one, 20 inches, and then I'm going to twist. And now we're going to go a little bit shorter at 5 inches on either side. And we're going to do 2 on either side. And you'll notice I'm going to keep that nice and loose, nice and loose. Good strong twist, but nice and loose here on the actual loops. Oh, isn't that beautiful? So this is a very, very simple bow, great for beginners. Really easy to use the bow maker here too, to hold it. You can make this all in your hands also, but when you have the bow maker, it just holds everything for you, makes it that much easier. And I'm going to cut this one at the opposite angle, kind of coming in. Now, let's get in there and let's take this off our bow maker. Like I said, it's a simple bow and you can do it. Now you could mix any colors you wanted to build this up, but you can see it's the same palette. The same color on the back as the front, and it gives it all that cute depth. So I'm going to get that somewhat tight, not all the way tight. And then now we're going to start fluffing this dude up. And that means we're going to go ahead and make sure everybody is sitting upward, okay? And then I'm going to take and make sure my tails are coming down too, because that's important for this bow. And I want you to add a cable tie to the back. And that one will be where we're going to attach it. You can put a wire back there too. I just use cable ties that can get really tight. So I find that very beneficial when you're creating bows or doing some floral designing. I'm going to trim that off. And the next thing is I like to finish out the center. And on this one, I'm going to use the solid ribbon in the center. So I'll pull that off to the side here. And we'll just get a little strip of it. Aim for about 10 inches to 12 inches. It just makes it so much easier. And I'll just take this strip off and I'll leave that other strip on my roll. So my next bow, if I need a strip, I've got it ready to rock and roll. Now to finish my center, I don't want those rough edges, so I'm going to take and just fold those to the middle, get a nice little finished piece like this, and then I'm going to run that down the center. And it keeps that really nice and neat looking in the middle. You see how pretty? It's so polished and finished. You're going to love that. All right, Blue Merinos, if you want to make bows just like this, you've got to come join us. We teach this and higher level bows, multiple layers, multiple ways to learn dimension every week in design school. Whenever we have a new bow on a project, I teach you step by step how to make it. And the neat thing is when you join our class, you get access to an entire portal full of bow making recipes and designs, so you can learn how to make them not only with a bow maker but also by hand, and you learn when to use them and what kind of tails are effective in each design when you're using them. So we'd love to have you in design school. Come on over to KaleesDesignSchool.com or head over to WreathTeacher.com, because I'd love to be your wreath teacher and show you to make beautiful, beautiful bows like this and floral designs every week, and you can do it too. On this one, I picked a combo that was a little more rustic, so I went with this. It's got a little bit of the bling bling of the stars in there, but I knew I wanted to pull out the barn red, because in the wreath we're making with that, I need that pretty red with that vintagey look, and we are using the cutest berries in that wreath also. So it's really important to go the more rustic look. So our foundation of the bow is going to start with our red ribbon. We're working with an easy bow maker here. So if you need an easy bow maker, just let us know in the comments. We have a link. We can show you where to get one of those. And I'm going to start by dovetailing here, and we'll start building our bow. Now this bow is going to have pizzazz and a little bit of tails going up and down. And so it's got that whimsy. We call those funky bows because they have that funky jive to them. And on those, we want 8-inch tails. So from here to here is 8 inches. So it's really easy for me just to take and twist. And I'm gonna have that first tail go up. I just hold that down with my right hand and start my loops over here with my left. I know 6 inches is perfect, so I'm gonna go 6 inches and twist, 6 inches on the right and twist, and we're gonna make a couple of loops to get it started. Right here, 2 red at 6, and when you come to the center, you're twisting each time. And then when you're done with your loops, you do what we call a scrunch, meaning you just scrunch it up nice. I measure this out to 8 inches and then I trim it off. Blue Merinos, I have so much fun celebrating America and Texas and the red, white, and blue. You know, we love to put all of this up for the season, but you can have it up any time of year, of course. Patriotism doesn't go out of style. Now, I'm going to make another tail to match, so I just measure from there to there. Even though I know it should be 16 inches, just in case I'm off for a little bit longer, I just take and measure it to match. Now, take and dovetail both of these. We're kind of putting in a faux tail that doesn't involve any loops, but we're going to add it right in right now. So I get that nice fullness right here, so it's about the same. Now come here to the center, and you're going to scrunch it as well. So then I get that crisscross right there in the back of my tails, and I've got my loops going. So 2 tails, 2 loops. So now I'm going to use my Stars and Stripes ribbon, and this has got that perfect vibe to match the embossing. There's embossing stars on that door hanger we're using, so that gives me the stars on this pattern are perfect to pull that out. You always want to pull out the little details, and that's why you want to come join us in design school, because I'm teaching you how to do that. We put the tail in a little. Now I put my fingers on top. Now I want to take and start with my first loop. Now I'm going to go smaller, 5.5, and I'm going to twist, and we're going to go 5.5 on the right. And this is just a sweet little bow. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. I'm going to twist again, and actually I'm going to scrunch. Sorry, we're going to scrunch because I'm going to finish with just 1 tail right here, and I make this a little bit shorter than my last red one. So if those are 8, these are about 7. You can see they're just a little bit shorter, okay? Now we've got that layered up pretty. I'm going to bring in another layer of red, so switch them out again. The fun thing about doing this kind of bow is you can layer it up. You can just go to town. Oh, you know what? Before I put the red in, let me bring in another faux tail to match, because I think that turns out so cute. And I'm going to take it and measure it, and we'll bring that in, because it gives us another crisscross on the back. I'm going to dovetail, so I just fold it and cut up from the fold on both ends. Now, and just grab that in the center, and then I'm going to gather it just a little, and we'll pop it in going opposite. See there? Perfect. Now, get the red, bring it back, and we're going to layer it up just a little. And now we're going to be a little more asymmetrical, because the tails are not going to match on either side. We've got that great foundation built just like we do in design school when we're building a wreath. But now we're going to do this really simple. I'm getting to the end of my roll. Now, when you get the kit, you'll have a full roll of ribbon, so you won't have to worry. So I'm going to just do a small little loop at 5 right here and 5 over here. Just measure those, and these can go up and down. So you see that this is kind of diagonal, and it starts to bring the eye in just a little bit. What you'll do is now you'll build the other loop on the other side the same way. I show you how in just a second. Let me dovetail this one, but bring in your print. So we'll finish off with this one. Hopefully we have enough left. Come on, ribbon, make it to the end. Do you ever feel that way? Like, okay, I thought I had enough. I've got to make it to the end. But you don't have to worry. If you get the kit, you'll have a whole new full row. There will be no worries. So twist, and I'm going to make my loops. I think I'm going to have enough to make it. 2 empty rolls this time, guys. Yes. You know what that means when you have 2 empty rolls? Guess what? Time to order more. Girl math. Empty rolls means space and money available. Plus, after we sell this wreath, we're going to have plenty to go buy another. So tail up and loop up. And now I'm going to take and trim this one right here. Isn't that cute? So you have it layered out where these are opposite. See, the red is here and now the stripe is here and you got your cute little tails. I've got two different pieces here we can use for the center. We'll decide what we want in just a second. I'm going to take and get this off the bow maker. Now, I'm going to go with my 8-inch cable tie. I like to run that right beside these and put a little pressure on top. Y'all, if you want to learn how to do bow making, wreath making, garlands, centerpieces, swags, for all year long and seasonal holidays, you've got to come join us in design school, because we are always looking forward to the next season and creating designs, and you can learn how to do it too. When you're ready, you can even learn how to scale and create a business, or just continue making beautiful pieces for your home in design school. So come over to KaleesDesignSchool.com. We have a link here for you. I'd love to teach you more and get to know you more, and kind of take my 28 years experience and make designing really easier and easier. I get better at teaching every year. I'm a classically trained teacher, and that helps me learn how to, make it easier for you to learn too. As adults, sometimes we stop learning, but I tell you what, you don't want to do that, because learning a new craft or hobby is so fun and exciting. And if you've got any ounce of creativity, this is going to just send you to the next level. I promise you, you'll love design school. Now, we got this far, but I'm ready to put my ribbon in the center. And here's a couple of tips for you on that. It depends. Do you want the center to disappear? If you want it to disappear, then go with the stripe, because that's our layer on top, and I won't really notice the center. If you want the center to have a nice contrast, then you bring in the red, okay? Because then it will pop against the stripe. So looking at all of this, I think I'm totally fine with just having it disappear. I think it'll look great. So we'll use the stripe. All you've got to do is just take it and do a little fold. And this is one of my signature moves when I do my bows. So a lot of people will know you took my class, or they might think you're me. If you do this on your bows, you'll get that same polished, finished look. It takes a little more time, but I think it's worth it. Adding those details to your pieces every time gives you more, basically, depth and dimension, which I always talk about, and it gives the perception that it's a higher quality product, which is awesome if you're a seller, but even better if you're just trying to have a beautiful home, because they're gonna think that you paid a lot for it because a professional made it, when in all reality, you did it yourself. Hey Bloomerinos, look at the cute ribbons here. We are mixing pink with bright yellow, and we are gonna have a blast creating some bows out of this ribbon. Both of these are 1.5-inch ribbons, and we are gonna mix these together to make the greatest bow. So let me show you how. We're gonna start with the yellow on the bottom of our bow, so we'll load this up. And you'll notice this is narrow ribbon. This is 1.5-inch. And our first bow we're doing is going to have a longer tail. So I'm going to do the whole length of my bow maker. This is 20 inches. And I'll just cut that at an angle. Hey, if it's your first time being here, thanks for coming in. We're so glad you're here. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow wherever you're watching. And you don't want to miss another video, of course. You'll want to get on our text list. This bow, we're going to start the loops at 6 inches. So I put it out to 6, and I make sure it's nice and loopy. Then I come out to the other side. And we're going to do a couple of loops right now. And we are going to make this one with 2 on each side. I think that would be really sweet. This is a very simple bow, but very effective for a lot of my designs. And my design school students really like it because it's easy, clean, and neat. So we start out there with 2 on either side. And both tails are at 20 inches. Now spread these out. Now we're ready to put the next layer on, and that's going to be our pink. And here we picked out a really cute pink, and most importantly, it's got a little bit of yellow in it, so it can pop out and line up really well against this yellow when I pair them together. See how pretty that is together right there? Now, I'm going to make that about the same length as the other tail, maybe a couple inches shorter. Then I'm going to come in, and we are going to put on 5.5, so a little shorter here. And we're going to put in 1 loop on either side. And I'm going to scrunch that down. It's a very simple bow. Like I said, simple but effective. Y'all, and grab a spot on the text list at 832-734-5201. Just text us and we'll make sure we send you out a text whenever we put out new content. So I'm going to run this right beside the ribbon and we'll take it off the bow maker. Now, the project I'm going to use this on is going to require me to put this into some floral foam. So that means I'm going to put a floral pin on the back end of the bow as opposed to putting a cable tie or a wire in the back. So I slide the floral pin in and I'm going to pull this tight. And then I'll just trim this off. And here's what we got. We got a sweet little bow. Nothing too complicated. Now, what I want to do is decide what I want in the middle. I can pick pink or I can pick yellow, and I think pink would be really cute. What I'm going to do is I want to have a little extra tails. So I'm going to cut this double the length I normally would. So instead of 10 inches, we're going to go with like 20. I'll cut that at an angle. And then right here at the middle, take and just fold it a little tighter. Okay, fold it on each other. But leave all the other tails the same. Come down the middle. We're going to have to come down the center of that floral pin right there. And now we're just going to take and tie a nice little knot here, making sure the fronts of the ribbons are in the front of the bow and the backs of the ribbons are behind. Okay. Now let me turn it around. And what we did is we just added a clean, neat center, but we added some more tails when we did that. So if you guys want to see where we use this bow in its finished project, just let me know in the comments. We'll give you a link to that. And you can head over to the supply list. It'll always have the links to the ribbons we're using and the project that we end up using the bow in. This time we are going to be rocking out the pink and the yellow and screaming lots of color in this design. So I'm using both 1.5 inch ribbons, and we do have these on Cleese.com. So let us know if you need the link. We'll be happy to share that with you. Today we're going to make what's called a funky bow. And on a funky bow, the tails go up and they go down. So I'm going to grab my scissors here and start with an 8-inch tail popping up. And then I'm going to hold that in the center and start to make my loops. These are going to be at 6 inches. And I am going to make 3 of these at 6 and really get this bow popping. 6, and here comes another one at 6 inches. Twist in that middle. And 1 more. So we've got 3 on each side. And I've got 1 tail up and 1 tail going down right here, okay? And I like my tails at about 8 inches. All right, now we're gonna bring in our next layer in this bow, and that's gonna be yellow. It's coming in next. So I'm gonna work opposite. Bring that in here and twist. Now I wanna make this 2 loops, and we're going to space them to kind of go in between these and at about 5.5. So 5.5. There goes my one on the left. Now I'm going to do them on the right again. And the reason it's called a funky bow, it's just a bow that has multiple tails and they don't have the long tails. And a lot of times you can make these with many different styles of ribbon, but here we're just going to work with 2. When you get to that last tail, don't twist it. I accidentally twisted it. Just scrunch it down, okay? And now I'm going to take and trim these so they match at 8 inches. And that looks great. We're just going to finish up with a touch of pink in the center. And I'm not even going to do another loop. I'm literally just going to do another tail in here, just to kind of finish out with a pop of paint. And I did that a little bit shorter. Now we're going to go ahead and take it off the bow maker. So I'm going to run my cable tie right next to the dowels. Pull that up just a little. Make sure you grab everybody you're supposed to grab. Pull that up. Add some tension. Okay, I'm going to hold that pressure with my fingers. And now we're going to go ahead and slide that over a little, get it to the center. bring it to the back, and we will get ready to pull it tight. I'm going to add a cable, not a cable tie, a U-pin in there, because that's going to work for a way for me to pin this in some floral foam. And if you want to know what we're going to use this bow on, just let us know in the comments. We will definitely share with you that video. That's the funnest part of all this, see where we're using them. Now I want you to make sure those tails are working opposite. See, this pink is opposite that pink. This yellow is opposite that yellow. You want to really shape that up right now. And my last little detail piece is the middle. And I'm going to use the really cute, stinking cute yellow. And I'm going to cut this a little bit longer, probably about 10 inches on either side instead of 8. And just set that aside for a second. We're going to fold it in the center. And I'm going to cover the center and cover my mechanics, but I'm going to be able to leave a little tail. You got to run that through the floral pin, okay, and pull this back where he's going pointing backward, and make my little knot right in the center. Then when you pull this tight, make sure the pretty side of the ribbon's facing forward, okay, so that when these pull now, and this pin stays in the middle. Let me pull that tail through there. There we go. See? Now these can pop up and down in your bow, but you've covered your green cable tie in the middle, and it's looking really polished and finished. All right, I can't wait to show you how we use this bow in our next project. I think you're gonna love it. We're getting ready to make the sweetest, simplest bow that you can use for so many different projects, and it's a basic one made with 2.5-inch burlap, and this is a faux burlap, so it's got just a nice polished finish. And I'm going to start off by making this bow by putting it on my bow maker, and I'm going to do one tail at 16 inches, okay? This tail is going to be on the right side of my bow, so I'm going to cut it at a right side angle. And if you measure from the 8 to the 8, you get 16. And when you come to the center, you're going to do a twist. And that's how easy it is to start off making this bow. You guys, I'm Khalid. If we've never met before, welcome, of course, to Khalees.com. I love to teach you how to make everything beautiful with flowers. And today we're starting off with some bow making. So I started by loading the tail in first, and now I'm coming into my loops. And 6 inches is a good start for most basic projects. And when I come to the center, I twist. When I come back over to the right, I'm going to do the same thing. And we just continue twisting and layering up our bow from the left side and the right side. We just keep going up, and I twist, and you can see how I can build up my bow from the back forward when I'm using this bow maker. The bow maker doesn't do anything magical. You still have to be able to make your folds and your twists, but the nice thing is you don't have to hold it all in one hand, okay? It doesn't do anything special for you. You still have to put the color combos together. That's why I love teaching in design school to how to come up with great colors and how to come up with excellent tones and textures to add together in your projects. So that really, really helps. All right, I've got 5 inches on either side, and then when I come back to the middle, I just scrunch that down, and then I cut this at an angle so they're opposite. And this is a basic 2-1 bow recipe that I love to use. Now, I'm going to take an 8-inch cable tie and use it right in the middle, and then bring my fingers up and hold some pressure on here. Or that, and rotate it around. And I'm going to keep fluffing this right up. Look, they're so pretty. Now when I'm done with that, I'm going to rotate it behind and put a cable tie running right down the middle. And this will be how we attach it to our finished wreath that we put this in. If you want to see the project that this bow is in, let us know in the comments, and we will tell you and give you a link so you can go watch it. Now in here, I'm going to add a little strip of brown to go in the middle, just to kind of make it blend and disappear. So I'm just going to take about a 10-inch strip of ribbon, and I just take this piece, and you can cut it smaller, or leave it thick like that, but just fold it down the center right there, okay? And then I'm going to take and put a nice little knot in the back. Get it nice and strong and that beautiful. And then I'll just trim this off just a little bit in the back so it's neat and clean back here. And guess what? There it is. It's our beautiful 2-1 bow, and we've got tails at 16 and about 12 inches. And it makes such a great bow to go on so many different neutral kind of pieces that you're creating. And this is the cable tie, how we'll attach it to our finished piece. But what do you think? It's an easy one. I know you can do it. Hey, you see this ribbon? You know what time it is. It's bow go time. Hey, Blue Merinos, it's Kali, and we're going to tie a bow today for the Christmas season that you are going to love. We're working with some gorgeous red velvet. Then we've got this fun pattern with, it's got a little glitter and a lot of polka dots and all the fun little trees on it. I love this one. It kind of gives that quilted effect, because today's bow is going to go for a project we're doing with a country Christmas wreath. So you're going to see how these two patterns are going to work great to come together to achieve exactly what we want. Come on in, let's get started. If you've never made this kind of bow before, I'm happy to teach you. It's going to be a long tail bow, and what that means, it's got longer tails that kind of can cascade down your wreath. And in design school, where I teach hundreds of ladies every month, and gentlemen, how to make beautiful wreaths, we love to use long tail bows in our designs. So this is definitely a great tip I want you to take into account. So the first thing you do is, I like those tails to be about 20 inches. I'm going to measure the 20 there, which is the whole length of the bow maker. If you don't have a bow maker yet, we have an affiliate link we'll be happy to share with you. Just ask in the comments. And if you want to see the finished project this bow is going in, let us know too in the comments. We'll be happy to share that with you as well. I'm going to twist here, okay? So this is a 20-inch tail going down the right. Now we're going to the left side. And my standard loops are generally 6 inches for this size wreath. So 6 inches and twist. And we're going to keep it nice and loopy. We're going to come over to the right side and 6 inches and twist again. And I'm always twisting if I want to do another loop, okay? If I'm done with my loops, then I know it's time to scrunch in the middle. And the reason we're doing all that, guys, just like I teach in design school, is we're doing that because we want the back of the pattern to be hidden, or we want it to show, okay? And that's why we either squish like we're doing here, or we twist if we're making another loop. Simple, simple. So we have 2 loops on each side, and now I'm going to trim this off. And I've told the story before where when I was selling hundreds of wreaths every month in my Etsy shop, and now I'm able to teach other students on how to, not only make beautiful wreaths, but if you want to sell them, I can teach you that as well. One of the tips was, you've got to come up with a process that you can maintain for your particular workshop when you're creating yourself or you have help, eventually in your business. And so we created the lingo for these bows, and that's why we'll always call a bow from one side when we call out the recipe. So you'll hear me say that, and that's because I had to create that own lingo for my warehouse team when we were creating, and we were selling lots and lots of wreaths so we could communicate. So that's why this wreath so far, the recipe is a 2 loops on one side. Now we're going to start the next side. This is a gorgeous velvet, and it's a really pretty red. The red has a little tinge of pink in it rather than the red with the orange. So that is such a pretty classic red. I love that. So I'm going to have that tail just a little bit shorter. And the reason I do that is so this lays out really pretty when it's hanging down the door. And now we're going to go for 3 loops on each side. So you guessed it, you knew, the recipe is 2, 3. It's a 2, 3. And as you get closer to the center of the bow, we're going to go shorter. So here it's 5 inches, a little bit shorter. So 5 inches on either side, and we're going to do 3 loops. Right hand forward, left hand back when you're on the right side, and the opposite when you're on the left side. So you can see I'm holding it in the center when I get ready to loop. And you guys, if you just started making bows on the bow maker, or you're wanting to make them by hand, just realize you just go slow, take your time. It's just a lot in your hand. That's why I like the bow maker, because it helps you hold it. But I made lots of bows without it before we discovered it a long time ago, and Just either way is fine. You can do it either way. So 2 loops, then 3 loops, and I'm going to cut these tails to the same length. So I'll just bring them up here. And I am currently just angle cutting them at an angle. All right, now let's put on the top layer. The top layer is going to be our pattern again from the back. That's a classic move, a tip from design school. Classic because it's just an easy one. We're going to do a little bit different this week because we're going to make a bow tie in the front. So bow tie is just a loop with no tail, all right? So you make a nice little loop and you want to figure out about how big you want it on either side. So we just had everybody at 5, so let's go like 4.5. That loop's got to overlap in the back. So once we do that, we're going to take and just gather it right up. And then you're going to pop this in the center of the bow maker and you got a really nice clean finished look. All right, so it's a 2-3-1. It's a 2-3-1. Not quite a blast off bow. If you've been a Blue Merino a long time, you know what a blast off. It's kind of almost a reverse blast off. Okay, over here I have cable ties. I prefer cable ties to use in the center rather than wire. It's totally up to you, but they can get so much tighter. They're one of my favorite things to use. So I'm going to run this right beside, and we'll just bring it straight up. So you guys, if you're not on our text list yet, grab a spot, because then we'll text you out when we have new videos like this, or we have new projects. You won't miss anything. And you'll know exactly what's going on over here at Kali's, because not only am I teaching, I'm always trying to inspire you to decorate your homes in beautiful, beautiful looks and designs and what's trending. And I really try to make it easy for you to learn floral design. Classic combos and gorgeous patterns. I love the lines and direction. And we can always create lines and direction with ribbons, but we can also do it with florals. So we'd love to have you in design school. If you want more information about that, just ask in the comments. We'll be happy to pop it in. Or you can text us anytime at 832-734-5201. Or you can go to textkeli, TEXTKELEA.com and sign up there for our text list. Look! Stinking cute. Classic. That red, this is a beautiful velvet, and it's hard to get this pretty color. Some are, flat or a little bit more orange than I like. So definitely stock up on this ribbon on Kalis.com because it's gorgeous. So the supply list will have the ribbons we're using, and it also will have links to the video where we use this bow in the finished project. So you can catch it all. Now I'm cutting a strip of ribbon because I'm going to run that right down the center. I'm always big at covering our mechanics, and so that's something I teach a lot of in design school, that we have to build things that are really well constructed, not only for us, but for our customers. If we want to have customers and sell, we want stuff that's going to hold up. And I love the details like this. So we just folded that in half, got a nice little strip, actually probably more like thirds by the time we cut it, okay? And then that runs right down the middle. You see how finished it looks? One of my favorite things to do. 2 knots in there if you can get them. 1 and 2. But if you're struggling with bows, come join us at Design School. We've got hundreds of videos of bow making, wreath making, all the things. I think we're up to over 300 courses recorded in the tutorial, in the portal. And then that doesn't even count the lives. So we've got so much for you to consume whenever you're ready. Hey Blue Merinos, we're going to make a neutral bow, and it's going to be really basic and easy. We are using our Easy Bow Maker and these 2 ribbons, and we'll have a whole supply list for you so you can grab these exact products we're working with. And what we want to do is we want to start off with our 2.5-inch ribbon in the back. We want to do a couple of loops on each side and decide our tail length. For this project, I'm going to go with a 16-inch tail, and I'll just cut it at an angle. I'm going to just curl these tails up. So I'll cut that one at an angle. Measure out my 16 inches. Just bring that right to the center. Let's do that one more time. Okay, and then I twist. So my right hand goes forward, my left hand goes back. I just bring that tail down. Now I'll pull this back with my left hand, and I want to start getting these loops at about 6 inches. So 6 inches and twist, and keep this nice and fluffy. Pull some more ribbon off. And I am doing this all right-handed. If you are left-handed, you can actually just flip this bow maker around and follow the exact process we're doing here. So I'm going to go 6 inches on this side also, and bring another loop in, and then you twist it, and just separate these out. So right hand forward, left hand back. When you're done making your lips, you just squish that down. You don't have to twist it. Bring those tails up, and now we can cut them opposite. So let's just take and cut them opposite of each other. I'm going to cut that one and then this one, and I'll get some nice little tails going. Now you're going to want to bring in your second ribbon, and we're going to use a 1.5 and a cute little micro dot that I love. And this one will also cut to match. So on this side, we want those cuts to match, so it's going to come just like this. And now I'm going to bring that up to the center and keep these tails kind of consistent, and I'll twist in the middle. And I'm going to go all the way out to, it was at 6, I'm going to go at 5.5 for this one, and we're just going to do one loop. That's why I say these bows are simple, but they're so effective for projects. In certain projects, you don't want the bow to take over. You want it to be complementary. And you can see I just cut those opposite to each other. Now that we're done with that, we're going to take it off the bow maker, which is sometimes people's most difficult part. So I'm going to run a cable tie right beside the dowels. Put some fingers on the top and just bring that up. Add some pressure right there. And then you can just move your bow maker completely out of the way while you're fluffing this up. It's kind of like a really important part. I'm going to rotate that to the back, and you are going to take and separate all of these out. All right, and fluff them up. Isn't that beautiful? And you see all that motion? That's what you're looking for here. Lots of motion. When you're happy with it, you're all done. You need to add another cable tie to the back, and that's going to be how I'm going to attach it to my finished project. And I will pull this tight and just take and cut that off. And then you can always pick which ribbon you guys want in the middle. If you want some more check, we could just use a little bit of check in the center. But I tell you what, I'm going to use the dot. I think it's a classy, like really finished look. So take a little bit of the micro dot and just fold it on itself to get a little section going down the middle. And you can leave it a little fatter this time, as opposed to some of our other bows. See how polished that looks in the middle? Really, really pretty. So flip it around, and we're going to go for 2 knots in the back. There's 1, almost 1, and number 2. And then you just need to trim off those tails so they don't poke out and show. And basically you have done it. You've made what we call a 2-1 bow. In design school, we have recipes for all different bows, all different layers and levels and combos. But this one is a beautiful neutral, it's just juicy, y'all. Juicy, we always call ribbon juicy when it's pretty, and it's simple, understated, but it's gonna work perfect for our product. Come and see us at Calise.com and see everything we have to offer for you guys right at your fingertips. Till next time, Blue Merinos, go have fun with flowers.